So you're in a very unique position because you're somewhat of an outsider looking in at all the social unrest happening here in the U.S. So I want to give you the floor right now to lay out what you've been seeing so far from your travels on this side of the pond.
Well, yes, first, it's a great pleasure to be with you. I've been in America for the last month, traveling around the country, different parts of the country. I haven't been here for a couple of years, and it's enormously disturbed me what I've seen already. I traveled first to this city, to New York, where I recently returned. But in the meantime, I went to Los Angeles, to Portland, which just came up, Portland, Oregon, as well as Seattle. I'm now back on the East Coast. It is an extraordinary unraveling that's going on in this country. People seem to be finding it hard to condemn things which just a couple of years ago they would have found it easy to condemn. They make excuses for people who are violent. They excuse the most extraordinary things, the destruction of property, the killing of people, by saying that, well, this is an ideology that's going on. I spoke the other day to a restaurant owner in Oregon who happens to be black himself, who had shots fired through his business window by anarchists, so-called BLM, Antifa, they go by lots of names now, who targeted him because he's an American patriot. Now, until very recently, if you said these are predominantly, in this case, white anarchists shooting at a black-owned business in the name of anti-racism, you would have said, what's happened? This is America today. It's upside down, it's topsy-turvy. Too few people seem to be able to call out what's right, what's wrong, and you're in a serious mess. I don't ever advise Americans of how they should vote. It's not my country. I don't pay taxes here, and I'm not a citizen here. But my gosh, have you got a tough road ahead of you, however you go.
And you really did a great job kind of laying out the issues that we're seeing now. You're really at the front of all this, the curve here before 2020 even started with your book, A Madness of Crowds, where you talk about how the left and its ideology divides us by race, by gender, by sexual orientation, the list goes on. So do you think that some of the premises you laid out in your book, the groupthink, is what you're seeing right now, really culminating here in the U.S. during this tense election year?
Yes, you know, when the Madness of Crowds first came out in 2019, some people said to me, what are these things you're talking about? Why are you so obsessed with these issues of, you know, these fringe groups that obsess about people's race and their sexuality and their gender? Why are you so obsessed with this? And I said, well, look, it's the growing ideology of a new generation that are being taught that instead of having a coherent ideology and, apart from anything else, cohering as a nation, among other things, that people should spend all their time drilling down into what race people are, what sex they are, what sexual orientation they are, and all of this. And there were still some people last year who said, well, this is a kind of fringe thing. And my goodness, do those people not say that anymore. This year, we've seen all of these identity issues used and weaponized by the identitarian left as an excuse to rampage and much more across this country. It's a very, very dangerous turn. You know, the ideological right can play these games as well. The ideological right in history has been perfectly able to play off groups against each other. But here we are in America in 2020, and it's the radical left that is doing this. I think it has to be called out. I think that if it isn't called out and if it isn't stopped, this country is heading to the most bleak imaginable future.
And you would think that the violence would start to kind of change some people's minds, and it definitely has. But there's also some people who live in areas such as Seattle and Portland, and they have signs in their store windows saying, I'm with you guys, don't burn down my store, don't loot my store. And it's interesting to me, it's almost like a cognitive dissonance that you know that these people are terrorizing your community, and yet you still somehow think that they're noble or good in their quest. It's very interesting, the mindset going on.
Right this moment, there is a mad rush in America